Live from downtown Detroit, Local 4 News at 11 starts now.
A Westland neighborhood rocked by a house explosion. The entire side of a home reduced to rubble as firefighters rushed to see if anyone was inside. You know, the first calls about that blast came into our newsroom around 6 tonight.
That's right. And just minutes after, our cameras arrived on the scene on Calhoun Court and Grand Traverse Street. It's in the heart of a subdivision off Palmer and Merriman. Our Pamela Osborne was one of the first on the scene and has been spending the night speaking to first responders and neighbors. Pam, we understand nobody was at home at the time.
Right, Kimberly and Demond. This easily could have been so much worse than what it actually was. Take a look for the damage yourself. You can see that house came apart in large pieces when it exploded today, but we did learn, fortunately, it was vacant.
So we were at home just watching TV, having some dinner, and then all of a sudden we heard just a big explosion.
Doorbell video camera captured the sound of the explosion that shook Calhoun Court in Westland Monday night. This is what James Bray saw when he stepped outside.
The front wall was blown out, the entire side was blown out onto the neighbor's yard, and some small fires started.
Here's a view from Sky 4 up above. You can see all the debris that went flying into neighboring yards.
Most likely, we're going to be looking at some kind of gas explosion.
Battalion Chief Brian James says the call came in at 6:50. Firefighters put out a small fire at the back of the house and were relieved to learn the house was vacant.
Very thankful that no one was hurt, very thankful that supposedly there's not really any damage to our house and that we're all okay.
Fire officials using this close call as a reminder of the preventative measures we can all take to ensure our homes are a little safer.
Yearly checks of anything gas related, right? In your houses, you got water heaters, you got stove, and you got your furnace. Obviously, if you smell anything, call the gas company right away, have it checked out. This goes along with electricity.
And we know the utilities were cut to the house almost as soon as first responders arrived here on the scene. You can see crews are working to board up what's left of this house right now. The investigation continues. Reporting live in Westland tonight, I'm Pamela Osborne, Local 4.
Yeah. Okay, Pamela, thank you. Well, this is just one of several house explosions we've seen this year in Metro Detroit. Scan the QR code to check out how DTE, the Detroit Fire Department, and the ATF are working to keep residents informed about potential hazards. They're sharing important information on things like leaking valves and strange smells around furnaces and outside meters. Another round of auto tariffs are now in place. Now most car parts imported into the U.S. will now be hit with a 25% tariff. Industry insiders confirm this could mean tens of billions of dollars in new costs to the industry. To help offset part of the tariffs, the White House said it would refund automakers, at least temporarily. However, one dealership owner told us that won't necessarily mean lower costs for car buyers.
The president has said repeatedly he doesn't think that the cost is going to be passed on to the consumer. What do you think?
It will be. I've already got notice from Ford that it will be. Not all of it.
But on some level?
At some level, absolutely.
Experts say the added costs of tariffs could still come to an average of $4,000 per vehicle.
And right now, the UAW is backing these tariffs, and Stellantis members are really making their voices heard. They're demanding that the automaker staff its American plants and create more auto jobs. Today, rallies took place in Trenton and Warren, with union members saying this is all about correcting several years of wrongs.
Our free trade system is broken, and it's been broken for a long time now. Companies like Stellantis have taken full advantage of it, shipping our jobs to Mexico, where labor is exploited for $3 an hour. They don't need to, they choose to, because they can get away with it.
The members say Stellantis has a choice. It can either support American workers and communities or keep putting profits ahead of people. And as the White House attempts to get its sweeping tax cut bill through Congress, there's concern it will require significant cuts to Medicaid in order to get it over the finish line. Now, that comes as 20 Republicans penned this letter calling for Medicaid reform, pointing to, quote, flawed federal policies. They claim healthy adults are cheating the system, leading to increased Medicaid payments to states. Currently, around 2.6 million Michiganders rely on Medicaid for health coverage. Governor Gretchen Whitmer spoke on potential cuts today. She says if passed, several Michigan hospitals would close their doors.
And there are hospitals that have 70% of their patients are Medicaid. So they could not survive that. That is a very real possibility, and that's why we're working so hard to try to get the Republican Congress members from Michigan to fight against this potential devastating cut, throwing people off of health care.
And some Republicans say they opposed any Medicaid trims. The Trump administration has also maintained it will not cut Social Security, Medicaid, or Medicaid benefits.
Michigan Attorney General Dana Nessel is dropping all charges against the 7 people arrested in connection to pro-Palestinian protests at U of M. The charges stemmed from when officers moved in to clear an encampment at the University Diag in May of last year. The protesters were charged with trespassing, resisting, and obstructing a police officer. Nessel says she still stands by her original charging decision, but she no longer believes those cases are a good use of her department's resources or time. The Michigan chapter of the Council on American Islamic Relations is also responding to the charges being dropped, releasing this statement that reads in part, quote, "The Attorney General's decision to drop the charges reflects what we have long asserted. These prosecutions were politically motivated and lacked merit."
A man is behind bars tonight after he allegedly made his 11-year-old daughter help him with a home invasion and car theft. Get this, Andre Brodnax is accused of driving a stolen car to an elderly man's home on Marquette Drive on Detroit's east side. Reports say he broke into the house last Tuesday with his daughter's help and then took off running. He was arrested a short time later. Now the man's facing several charges, including contributing to the delinquency of a minor. He's due back in court next week. And a 19-year-old wanted in connection to a deadly shooting outside a Foot Locker is now in custody. Police say the teen turned herself in earlier today. The shooting happened Saturday afternoon at the store on East 8 Mile and Kelly. That's on the Detroit East Point border. Investigators claim the teen got a gun out of a trunk and started shooting, ultimately killing 2 people and injuring 2 others. The Macomb County prosecutor will now decide whether or not charges will be filed here.
Jury deliberations will resume tomorrow in the case of the former police officer charged in the death of Patrick Leoya. The case was handed over to the jury just before 1 o'clock this afternoon after 6 days of testimony from 23 witnesses, including Christopher Schur himself. Jurors were given 3 choices: guilty of second-degree murder, guilty of voluntary manslaughter, or not guilty of anything. We will stream the coverage and the verdict live on Local 4 Plus and click on Detroit.com when it comes in. The jury will continue deliberations first thing tomorrow morning. 1 man is dead and a Michigan State Police trooper is recovering after a shootout on Detroit's west side. This all happened just after 4:30 this morning at a home on Murray Hill, right in the area of the Lodge and 8 Mile. 23-year-old Martez Hunter jumped out of a car, started shooting at members of an undercover state police auto theft unit. In response, troopers fired back, killing Hunter. One trooper, a 7-year veteran of MSP, was shot in the leg and back and is currently recovering in the hospital. Student loan payments are underway once again after they were suspended during the pandemic.
The Department of Education says it will now target borrowers who have not made a payment for 270 days or more. Now, that's expected to impact at least 5 million people. Loan holders will be notified by email that their loans are entering involuntary collection unless they start making payments or enroll in a deferment program. If you still don't pay, you may see your wages garnished. And right now at the Vatican, things are heating up as final preparations get underway for Wednesday's conclave. That's where cardinals and some workers are locked up inside the Sistine Chapel until the new pope is chosen.
And once they're in there, they won't have access to anything. No mobile phones, telephones, radio, TV, newspapers, absolutely nothing. But before that happens, the cardinals are having some informal meetings to see who might have enough votes to become the next pope.
Southwest Detroit native and Cardinal Joseph Tobin mentioned that some cardinals are on the same page about this.
I think there's a growing consensus about the qualities of the next Holy Father. I don't think there's an agreement yet about names, so we'll see how long that takes.
We will be your one-stop shop as the updates roll in when Conclave begins on Wednesday. We'll have constant updates from the Vatican right here on Local 4 on clickondetroit.com and streaming on Local 4 Plus.
All right, getting a check outside now. We've had some showers move over Metro Detroit tonight. There's even some rumbles of thunder down near Monroe.
Kim Adams is tracking it all tonight. Kim, none of this was severe, right?
No, not severe, but there were some gusty winds and still are in parts of Monroe and also over to Lenawee County. Adrian right now getting a little thunderstorm. You can see these little white specks there. Those are lightning strikes, and we have our counter on. Not very impressive. There have only been 12 in the last 5 minutes. So not a very impressive storm, but it does have gusty winds, and even winds at around 40 miles per hour can knock down some tree limbs and things like that. So that's what's going on right now in Monroe and Lenawee counties. But I'll go in a little bit closer here for you so you can kind of see what's going on. The downriver area also getting some rain right now, Flat Rock, Wyandotte, and even the city of Detroit. And you go north of that, still dry. There's an interesting pattern, though, to these showers. Instead of me tracking them to the east, I'm going to track them to the west because they're moving from the east to the west, and we'll do that coming up here in just a minute.